Alright, so it's currently the middle of the night, but I'm currently thinking about this, so let's get this over with. The topic of this is simply, well, firstly, greetings to all the weird people who are actually subscribed to me, or who come across this video. I am currently doing this in order to take notes and to think out loud. It helps me at times. Now, the current topic is timekeeping, actually. How does this sound? From the spring equinox to the fall equinox, the day has 12 hours and 4 watches. Oh, to explain. When I say the day, I mean the 24... For now, from henceforth, day refers to the 24-hour period it takes for the Earth to spin around. Daylight will refer to, well, or daytime will refer to the time which is officially considered working hours and such, while the night will be split up into 4 watches. A watch being a period of time where somebody could be expected to guard, or, pretty much be on guard, before being relieved, anyway. So yeah, from the spring equinox to the fall equinox, the day has 12 hours and 4 watches, and starts at the 6th hour before midday, and ends at the 6th hour after midday. From the fall equinox to the spring equinox, the day has 10 hours and 4 watches, and starts at the 4th hour before midday, and ends at the 5th hour from midday. Sorry if my voice sounds nasally, but screw it. Now, the reason why I've organized it this way is to avoid people working in the dark. So if we start at, what was it? I'm trying to remember now. Was it the 5th or the 4th? Alright, if we start at the 4th hour before midday, that pretty much means that you're unlikely to be in the dark. At most, you'll be in the dark for about, I don't know, 12 minutes? 15 minutes? Well, depends on how far north you are, latitude-wise. But say you're living in Germany, for instance. You shouldn't be in the dark at that time. At least not for very long. And the time it ends, well, by that point would have been dark for 10 minutes or so. So really you'd still be able to see what's going on. While with the rest, well, with the flip side of it, the 12-hour day, sure, you're not going to be getting the most amount of time out of it, but honestly, during the summer months, the day gets a bit too long for people to work. Well, all through the daylight, I mean. At least comfortably. This is my opinion, I should add. So yeah. And if you're wondering what any of this is, what all this is for, I like to world build and to do nation role-playing. Originally I got into it due to a Steam group I joined. Eventually I moved on to nation states, and then I moved on to other groups, usually based off of nation states, but sometimes not. Now, the reason why I'm wondering about this, the reason why I'm thinking about this, is because the nation I've been world building, role-playing as, it's been using Roman-style timekeeping, where there are always 12 hours, but the length of an hour shifts according to the length of daylight hours. Sorry. So an hour isn't always 60 minutes, which in turn is 60 seconds. No, an hour could be longer, shorter, all depends. Now for the Romans, this kind of made sense and worked due to the fact that they were using sundials and such. I mean, with a sundial, naturally the length of an hour will change depending on, well, the season, time of the year, so on. But if we're using something like, say, a water clock, this won't remain true. And weirdly enough, I have been thinking about this, and I have no idea how complicated you'd have to make a mechanical clock. But I do know that with a water clock, it would be relatively easy to switch from a 12-hour to 10-hour day, and then back again. So, for all intents and purposes, I suppose we're just going to assume that water clocks are the standard. Which would make it very convenient because water clocks can also be used rather easily for keeping track of time during the night. Yeah, big surprise there. You just need to be awake in order to keep refilling it and all that. But no, personally I think this would complement the dating system I have. The calendar I have. Now my calendar is... I'm just gonna skip the lore and just go with the base details. The calendar I've been using is a lunisolar one. Funnily enough, I originally based it off the Buddhist one, but I discovered that the leap years and such, I believe, line up with the Jewish calendar, which is, personally, I find it quite funny. Now, one idea I've been playing with is that, alright, if you're familiar with is it the Mayan or Aztec? One of those two. If you're familiar with their long calendar, you'll know that every period cycle time, there's a greater cycle, which ticks by. I kind of wanted to do something like that, where if a full moon is rising on the first day of a new month, if the full moon rises on the first day of a new month, no, that wasn't it. If the full moon rises on the spring equinox, whatever this grand cycle would be referred to, passes by. The problem with this, I am nowhere near competent enough at orbital mechanics in order to figure out how often that would happen, at what intervals and such. So if anybody would be willing to help me with that, please comment below. I doubt anybody's going to be listening to this. Well, actually no, there's one person I might expect to listen to this. She is listening to this. Hey. Anyway. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the calendar. So it ended up working out more like the Jewish one. What do I mean by this? The leap years. So, 7 leap years have to be added in each 19-year cycle. And I ended up choosing the 3rd, 6th, 8th, 11th, 14th, 16th, and 19th years to be leap years. The reason why is because it's fairly evenly spread out. During these leap years, rather than just getting an extra day, we get an extra month. Yeah. This keeps lunar and solar cycles in sync, more or less. Now, if I recall, I'm not looking it up right now because I don't care enough to, this is the same spread of leap years that the Jewish calendar has, which actually it might be the same spread that the Buddhist calendar has, for all I know. If you can't tell, I am tired. I'm actually feeling a bit ill as well. I think I might be a bit feverish. It isn't the plague, at least. Don't feel anywhere near the same as the time I had that. So, don't worry about that. Now, the interesting thing is that, for me, the new year is whichever month contains the spring equinox, which basically means that my new year is shifting around a bit, but it's generally around March. In fact, I think it always falls, at least mostly, within March. Yeah. And if I recall correctly, the names I went with for the months are Alcunomenoths, Selmenoths, Falmenoths, Halmenoths, Harbismenoths, Prudmenoths, Yavenmenoths, Windrusmenoths, Heiligsmenoths, Lunsingsmenoths, Gemotingsmenoths, and Erthamenoths, that's it. Alternatively, I also gave them ordinal designations, but less interesting. But yeah, so that's how the calendar works, and personally, I quite like it. There's some more details, such as how dates are written, but I should mention that I'm using base 12 for things. Man, that's giving me some headaches. Yeah. I think with the general culture that I've been writing up, the timekeeping method, which I've discussed earlier, would make the most sense. And I think it would fit in rather well with the calendar, too. I don't know why, it just feels right. I have to appreciate the Romans for coming up with their timekeeping method. Admittedly, it was more due to the technology available to them that they had the hours shifting like that, but what can you do? Water clocks weren't widespread, and other methods were more expensive, so... Oh, and mechanical clocks. I don't actually know when the first European mechanical clocks came around, but I'm fairly certain that the Romans didn't have them, at least not in great enough numbers, for it to really have been an option. I might actually look this up. Hold on. If you're wondering about the names I used for the months, well, obviously it isn't English. It isn't German either. That's a language I've been learning for a while. No, instead, it's a custom language which myself and a friend of mine who I refer to as Sasha, but who most people would actually refer to as Xander. Anyway, it's a language that we've been working on and off for a while now, called Hundish, named for the place where he lives, actually. Let's see. Indicate time. Sundials, mechanical water clocks. Ooh, no. That's gonna be interesting. Let's see. Fully mechanical. Describe early conditions. For example, there's a record of 1176. Yeah, no, the classical Romans, the Romans which most people think of as Romans, personally I consider the Byzantine Empire, the Eastern Empire, to be Rome as well, but yeah, that's an argument for another time. They did not have fully mechanical clocks, so yeah, that's right. Limits of technology, more or less. Now, what was I saying? Oh yeah, Hundish. So yeah, the names of the months are all in Hundish, which is a Germanic language primarily based off of Gothic and Vendalic, which does not contain any loanwords or influences from non-Germanic languages or non-Semitic languages. We can only take loanwords and such from the Semitic languages, and oh, that was fun. Well, the first thing we came up with was that for the sound inventory, we would take only sounds which were shared between Germanic languages and Semitic ones. We never really cut down the sounds we had, so we actually have a rather large sound inventory. Most of it, though, we've basically said is dialectal, which works out fine because myself and Sasha, we don't pronounce things exactly the same. So really, we already have different dialects. And we've also, well, the grammar rules are... Anyway, that's beside the point. The clocks and timekeeping. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Thank you for listening, and I will upload this momentarily. Gute Nacht.